nyecheno kandi abatahani barora nibahondera nibahuliriza inyo nibasima ntene kugarukira na inyo habo kuba ninywe kiki ekituli sobere ningamba ngu show eno rundi entekalizeni my planet ne kolerwa mu ndimi ibiri Olungereza abo ensonga ngu tularulengo rwensiona twetaga buli muntu abe mu ntekalizeni tagira nko kutwamsiga hero hakuba ntukwata amahanga mengi munsi hahiyensiona hata kila muno nko mu West Africa Ghana, Nigeria, Ivory Coast ago naganda gahereneho South Africa down there at the end corner of this continent, also crossing over to Europe, to Asia and other parts of the world. So hati oburko no kwato kuona okulitoro twakurumanya twakurura twamanyira urutoro kimansake kandi barakulira no kura hati abo urko no betaga tosoko bazorutoro no bazamurulimi orabarakira rurungereza hati nyo wita abatoro hano ekirunge kinyine ohire urulimi rwanyu urutoro kurumanya no habukuba urulimi rwanyu rurungereza no burumanya hako abengi halinye mbarozire mbahulire betegerize nimubaza nimumanya nimwetegereza urungereza so tutuyine kufero kono tukwandikaho kako twese bibiri habo kuba nikibani cyetagisa ningonkogo yes nyekenu kantandike ne bigambo nkira kutandika ne bigambo rukwata byo buhango tuyingulirize ko kwino buzale bwa amani kandi ukoto nugo mutima gwentekanizeno my planet ebigambo bindi bikwataho ensi yitu hange yatahire ko kutukugirinda nayo ko kwekutulinda habo ko kazoka ngo kandikiro butosa ngwese tutugirinda kurungi tutukugirinda kurungi hata turatagirinda kurungi nayo tera kutulinda kurungi nangwa yegire mbabazi kireito etugumisiriza rundi manyeke twakwetegereza ebitukora koko bitaliyo ebimahalibyo tuhinduremo aba mwego bakitegereza bahindura mu bitu abandi babana kebiti byomere balimeraye yesu nayo ngayira kake nayo yanukura koko kusobora hati nyekendo tugoza kuroraho ngo ebyo siga nibyogesa enseno obor kugikwata kubi ekagumisiza kumara kasumyo tahinduireho nayo kwanukura mu mulingo okukizireho kandi kugumangana hati omurugeza nwagamba the harsh treatment we give to nature is the harsher response it gives to us. It gives back to us. The harsh response, or rather treatment we give to nature, is the harsher response it gives back to us. Hati no nchele gurfuma ngo byosiga byogesa omulingo tukwata mukubi ancient mukutwanukura kwayo hanyuma yo gumisirize karo tutinduireho yo nitwanukuza ekiniga kingi kira koko tukuba tugitwayize kubi hakubanza hati byosiga byogesa osiga bitito nogesa bitito nosiga bingi nogesa bingi no kwata kubi yensi iyo nijya kukwata kubi kukiraho ni kwata kubieta ni yoma turkweza amaisi ngoma iroho esazi nebiri nibukwata ebyokuleta bikuzoka amatungo tugene garali etene mbuzi omnyansi noboma habokuba tukwasira kubiyesi ya yoma empira muro ngucheka na mbere gutamanyirwe kibakweta wildfire ko kuturoze mu California, Los Angeles ebikale mu America so okwanukura kwesi kugumire abantu balengereho kurazo muro guremere abantu bengi bafire omuro gubisire gubokeze abantu bisiro omwika shocked by smoke from that wildfire. All those are responses Mother Nature is giving back to those who harass it. So it is harsher response. It is answering back in anger. It is answering back in anger. So hati kiri komuka abazire kino mukyetegereza kurungi nabana kakubo obino mwana atarikwetwaza kurungi atarikuhura nomugamba atarikuhura na baba na kebiti byomere nomutuma ke nayanga na sikoma natega hati omuzaire akasoma karikira obwingi omwana okutomubwira mbabazi nyingi ezo obuzaire ziri omuzo obuhangwa nizikaraho baitu ebindi nebindi takukwisa mbabazi busa takukwasa mbabazi hati kyororo omu abazaire nibateera abaana nekiniga obwine babahutaza abandi nibabaraza enjara of course tikihikire baitu habwe kiniga nokwanukura omwana kokwaitwaize omuzaire nosanga nakora ekintu nkeke abandi nibabaraza heru nibabinga omu maka abandi nibabaima ebyetaago by'isomero abandi actually nibahikana okuruga mu masomero abazaire batafiireyo kuhondereza nogenda kubasagika nokubagarrayo habwokuba omwana atayetwaize kurungi hariho abarikujuma abazaire hariho abarikuteera abazaire hariho abarikwiba mukoko neba sukali neba sente neba mukubi neba hariho abarikwata kubi abatahe hati omuntu kwokumwanukura okugumangaine turagamba nuko kurikumusobora nuko kurikwija of course tukuri kurungi tukuri kumukonyera kuba kurungi nokumuhutaza mulingo ogumurundi ogundi habwo buli obu nikuba kyetagisa omwana ogu ahinduremu ebikore nuko asobole kwongera kutunga engozi obusagiki okufaaho nokufaayo kw'omuzaire we rundi omuntu arikumusagika. So my viewer out there, I was locally or in our local language emphasizing on the aspect that the harsh treatment we give to nature, that's how it answers back to us in a harsher way. We for example, mistreat it at 50% degree of mistreatment, but in response, or retaliation for that matter, it pushes us with 80% of anger. You can imagine. So the results of its pushback are harsher, are stronger, are devastating, and that's why you see when you dry, you contribute to drying conditions of the earth. The repercussions you get are wildfires, dry wood, dry grass, dry land, dry soil, dry food, and so we starve. Not only human beings but also the animals as well, wild as well as the domesticated ones, and our health goes bad because those conditions are not healthy conditions. So for that reason, that's why I said that as you sow, so you reap. Yeah, as you sow, so you reap. This has come to caution us, counsel us, guide us, advise us to adjust, to rethink the way we treat nature, such that it doesn't respond in a harsher way. And for us, when it responds, it's difficult to reverse the young of nature. So for that reason, we need to really be rational the way we treat Mother Nature, so that it's happy with us and we are happy with it and within it and in it and on it, because it is the sole provider of our survival living in terms of air that we breathe in terms of food that we eat, water that we use, the entire favorable environment that we get. Everything that is in nature is for a positive aspect for us or to us. So it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we don't mistreat nature in order for it not to mistreat us back. So I always come around and make an appeal to everyone viewing or listening to this show that please be a change agent of positive treatment of nature. Let us conserve Mother Nature, let us preserve Mother Nature, let us protect Mother Nature. The results will be abounding, positively abounding for us we shall always live a happy life because nature's response will be positive towards us, and we shall have to feel happy about that. Yes, that's what I wanted to emphasize on, and I always do emphasize on this because I'm passionate about nature, given what it is to us, to build our lives, to sustain us, and to keep our earth healthy. And this planet belongs to all of us. It belongs to you as an individual as well, and to me as an individual. That's why the show is my planet, your planet, our planet. So we are all responsible for keeping it safe, and we are all responsible for its response, whether positive or negative. Someone may argue that a child has not spoiled nature, why should he, she suffer? But I mean, it's resulting from our parents. Even the Bible says that I will judge the children of the sins of their grandparents. Ndijo nandiza abaana ebibi byabasenkulu bakweka habujukuru obwakana n'obwakataano obw'abantu abanooba. So we kind of transfer curses of disobedience to nature to our children, to our grandchildren, to the entire population, which is maybe innocent about what we're doing. Just a few rich people who distort and destroy and degrade nature cause the rest of us to suffer when we don't have a hand sometimes in destroying Mother Nature. So for that reason, I think it is important and incumbent upon us to make sure that Mother Nature is protected, safeguarded for our own benefit. Having introduced us to this point, let us have just less than a minute break. We adjust a little bit and move to another discussion. Having it.
Bagenzi harohe kichweka ekinkumanya kikahumba ruhanga ubuyemera hansozi olengeresi amare.
Fort TV, Ikara Osemerirwe.
Ego Fort TV Ikara Osemerirwe. We are back from that short break. Thank you, our team there in the Studio B, the producers and all the rest of that stuff, for that kind break that you have offered to us. Back into our discussion, focus point number 2. Let us move out of this place kind of mentally and move to the United States of America and see what is there and how do those things happening there relate to us here in Africa and Uganda in particular. Let us a little bit talk about the Trump 2 government. Trump 2 governance, Trump 2 leadership. Trump 2, why? Trump was once a president for one term. You remember, he was defeated when he came to run for the second term. So he went into recess for a 4-year recess. He came back with a bang, and then he won the elections recently. He won the elections. And so on the 20th of this month, he was inaugurated, he was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States of America at Capitol Hill. So he's the president now of the United States. But when we reflect, Trump actually belongs to the Republican Party. He's a Republican in terms of political parties in the United States of America. There are two strong or key national parties. The rest are there. Was about 4 other parties that are existing there, which are main actually. We have 2 major ones. We have that one where the Republicans belong, and we have that one where Democrats belong. We could say Democratic Party, we could say Republican Party, whatever nomenclature you want to give those parties. So, but he's a Republican. In terms of personality, Trump is a good man, a jolly man, but also he's, I think, almost 100% business-oriented, business-focused. In terms of politics and governance, generally he's good, but he's wanting in many aspects. We shall look at some of those aspects. On the other hand, he's kind of more or less a comedian. Sometimes he sounds like a joker, and he's serious, but he's serious in his unseriousness. And when he decides to be stubborn and tough, he goes that way in full swing. So in most cases, he's unpredictable. Unpredictable. He can appoint you today, disappoint you tomorrow. That's the Trump we're talking about. He likes making money so much, and that's why most of the big friends of his are business people. The richest man on this planet to date, Elon Musk, is I think the closest henchman or business friend he has. And if you went to Capitol Hill, I was almost saying State House, not State House, to White House, you would find, in most cases, this gentleman there as if he's at home, given what is happening now, because played a critical role in making sure that Trump wins this election. Injected in money, injected in time, injected in his influence, internally and externally. So we are looking at Trump as somebody who is educated, true, somebody who has ruled America for some good time, for years, yes. Somebody who's typically immersed into business, yes, does well in business, has estates, real estates, a lot of them, lots of monies, huge wealth. But when it comes to politics and good governance, there are issues. There are issues. First of all, let us look at the positive aspect of him. He's really patriotic from what he says and from how he's behaving somehow. Meaning he loves his country over and above everything else in relation to other countries in the world. And you know, USA is a global pace setter. Pace setter meaning kind of a yardstick, example in terms of democracy, in terms of governance, in terms of business, wealth creation, security, name it. Many countries in the world focus on America being a reliable partner in terms of perhaps economic support, military support, and other kind of support, but not moral support. So Trump is coming in with the feeling and attitude of America first. Like here we could say Uganda first, but here it is very difficult to say so. In the words, yes, we can say, but practically it's difficult to show by those who want us to love our country more than anything else. What they show us practically is different. opposite of what they say. I will be reflecting back and forth, talking about UC, also reflecting on my motherland, Uganda, maybe African continent as well. But Trump is like America first. If you're doing anything else, anything good, anything to be proud of, first do it for and to America. The rest can follow if you are to give them attention at all, if you are to give them a damn. Number two, he is always critical of his predecessors, the governments that were there before him, or the government that chased him out of power. Doesn't want to appreciate any positive aspect from that administration. Anything not going right in the US is blamed on their previous administration, according to Trump. When the administration is running, he's out of that business, he will blame and point a finger. When that administration goes out, he comes in, he will continue blaming the previous administration. To some extent, he could be right, but sometimes he exaggerates the situation. For example, now he's talking about the wildfire in Los Angeles, California. He blames Biden administration for that fire that has destroyed that land, that state, that wealth, has devastated that population. Says it is because of poor Biden administration. Now, rationally, you want to relate that, the wildfire, with the administration. I don't know, I mean, is there anybody who would like to destroy his population with fire, for example? I don't think. It's maybe a madman who can get fire and torch his house. But a rational, normal human being cannot do that. Maybe if someone is extreme, can he torch other people's houses? Not his, not hers. But now you see, he's saying Biden administration did not do enough. Actually, he says, caused that fire, and also did not do enough to quench that fire, to extinguish that fire, to help those people. And is the reason why some have died, he says. How rational is that? How realistic is that? So, he's fond of transferring blames to other people almost all the time. Number three, he doesn't care much about other people, other than generally caring about America. Yes, he wants America to be a global leader, maybe in politics, maybe in the military, maybe in economics. But as it does, I'm not seeing him really rationally wanting to see other countries coming up, especially in the developing world, particularly in Africa. Yes? And you can even see some of the policies that has been signing to, has said a lot of executive orders to really make sure monies from America is mainly retained in America. People entering America informally should be stopped, and those who are already there should be chased away, and those who try to dodge or resist or do what should be arrested. It is immigration war, as far as is concerned, to make America greater. He says great again, because he thinks and believes that those who come in as immigrants are the people who are cheating his country in terms of using the resources of that country, and calls them many names, including cat eaters. Doesn't like to see Africans, I think majority of them. He knows, he believes, and sometimes he's correct, that when they have gone to America, they go to beg, they go to want to live there forever and use the resources of the citizens of the country. So his focus on other people is not positive so much. And you can see some of the policies he's implementing now. He is pulling his country out of the membership of World Health Organization, to which America is part of the founders, actually the central pillar of founding of these global entities or UN agencies. You know, he's also blaming Biden administration on the issue of COVID-19. Yeah, so, but also is ignoring the idea of climate change. He says, if you're talking about climate change, you are wasting your time, we don't want to hear these things. And you know, the major cause of climate change is the drilling and processing of fossil fuels. By fossil fuels, I mean gas, I mean coal, I mean oil. So when these fuels are drilled and processed, they cause and contribute or produce a lot of carbon. Therefore, we experience carbon emissions, which we technically call greenhouse gas emissions. And it's out of that. When the world is moving towards clean energy, including solar energy, wind energy, and other types of energy, actually renewable energy, he's looking at drilling them more, producing more oil, I mean, through mining, you know. So for him, global warming, climate change is not his business. He says, what the hell you are talking about, he says. So, in other words, he's an unpredictable person, a difficult person to understand at that. Not only that, but also unreliable. Unless you are doing economic business with him, the rest of the other things, he cannot be a dependable friend. Politically, cannot be a dependable friend, even socially. So there is a fear that even in other agencies or institutions where America is part and parcel and central and a pillar, like North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, at some point has threatened to pull America out of that membership of NATO. So, you know, America being the world superpower in all aspects, when it begins behaving that way, those who have been in competition against it, actually not with it, but against it, feel happy, take advantage of those gaps. They try to exploit other countries' weaknesses. Take an example, Russia. Russia has been at war, Cold War, at loggerheads with the US. in terms of economic, military, and political competition. And Russia wants to overtake, but it finds it difficult, of course. So, but from the military point of view, Russia is equally strong, but America is still ahead, in some sense, but sometimes it is difficult to assess properly to see how more strong it is compared to America, to China, to India. But the aspect is that it's the superpower. So when it begins pulling out of these institutions, countries begin worrying, because America is a defender in some sense, is a protector, is a security provider, is an economic anchor, and a social motivator. So for that reason, when America begins to kind of more or less stepping aside of these matters, many countries, especially developing countries like Uganda and others on the continent and beyond and Asia, begin worrying. So, but Trump cares not, as long as America becomes stronger economically and militarily, I think, but especially economically, I think is thinking in that direction. But also at the same time, the contradiction is that he wants he himself to be bigger and richer than the country is leading, amassing wealth on his side, and his henchmen, or his friends. I really cannot use the word henchman in this aspect, but his friends. So there is a worry that one of the executive orders he has signed is that he's halting most of the funding America has been giving out to developing countries and other seemingly developed countries as well. Funding for projects and different programs like HIV and AIDS, like maybe agriculture, and the rest of that. So countries that overdepend on support from outside are beginning to feel the chilling, the fever, the economic fever, even military fever. They're getting scared. I can see and hear some cries in this country that if America withholds funding support through USAID and other systems, Uganda is going to be in trouble, because we are over-dependent upon grants, donations, loans, especially from the US and other European countries as well, but especially from the US. Donald Trump doesn't want now to see this money going out of his country. Of course, I know he will adjust at some point and do business with other countries, but he's interested in working with the fellow rich countries. And for him, he's richer as America, as a country. So even those which we think are rich are really getting a little bit puzzled how to work with him. But being a global economy, we hope he'll be adjusting in some areas, in some aspects. It is not bad for somebody to love his country, protect his country, enrich his country, but also it is good to think about others from a humanitarian point of view, from a leadership point of view, from all other points of view, especially if you are the giant on the globe. So those are some of the challenges that are coming with the Trump administration. Internally, one other aspect that I have really appreciated from him is the fact that he's saying the people of America, they are either males or females. He's kind of saying a male practically, morally, and rationally cannot marry a male, a fellow male. The same with females. How does a female marry a female, a fellow female? So this business of transgender, homosexuality, lesbianism, I think it's like, and for me, I'm happy about that, because it was becoming too much. America has been the key sponsor, defender of those aspects. That these are basic human rights according to America. To a greater extent, they say human rights. Yes, I cherish and support the aspect of human rights, but from that point of view, it becomes abnormal. Yeah, it is right for people to be couples, to marry or to be married, but it is right also to do it the rational way, the normal way, which we call the normal way here. Some Americans think are abnormal. They have done all those things, and they think they are doing things differently by men marrying men, women marrying women, doing those funny things. Distortions of nature, human nature, distortions of human nature. So when he comes out and says, we recognize two gender aspects, male and female, therefore implying males marry females, females marry males, it makes a lot of rational sense, moral sense, divine sense. At least I appreciate him upon that. One thing I'm waiting to see, one other thing I'm waiting to see, whether that one is like that, and they want him to strongly keep in that direction, he will become unpopular for a while from his own countrymen, but maybe he will overcome with time, and we shall be safer from that point of view, because when His Excellency the President of this country endorsed the aspect that Uganda does not entertain homosexuality, America got headache, caught fever. Why should Uganda not allow people to exercise their rights? Men to marry men, women to marry women. And His Excellency the President here was strong and said no. And some of us, among the many things that we like personally, for example, this president of this country, one of them is that one. It's a very important aspect to like him about. So when Trump says no to homosexuality, for me, I feel comfortable, and I like him about that. Okay, so, but in terms of international relations, it becomes extra difficult. I'm waiting and looking at how he's going to effectively respond to Russia-Ukraine war. He's giving signal that definitely doesn't like that war, doesn't support that war, but how effectively it's going to handle is also a challenge for him. Because Russia is powerful, this own weird right, militarily. Yes, economically it is getting some challenges here and there, but militarily it's strong. it invaded Ukraine, the first part of its invasion in 2014, and grabbed Crimea, which is part of Ukraine. So Russia grabbed it, occupied it. We usually say it took it, not physically moving it away, but decided to own it as a starting point of invasion, which is a huge challenge as well. So let me cause some little more bit of break. When we return, we are going to run deeper into the Russia-Ukraine war in relation to Trump administration. Don't go away.
Fort TV.
Yeah, greetings to the world. I don't know it's a regional real and proper Mr. Benny Gunter straight out of Gunter City to the well now. You're watching Fort TV. Make sure so you keep it locked in.
Stay entertained. Fort TV. Stay entertained. Fort TV. Stay entertained.
Yes, Fort TV, stay entertained. Welcome back from that short break. We are cruising on. We are looking at America versus the world. Abortoro nyine kukumbanagiriza. Mete kirungi numanya Uingereza. I've fallen so much into that direction of the language, but I'm comfortable that majority of you do follow. But kakuwa muraleta program zanyu netekaniza zanyu tujja kuzikora mu rutoro mutagamba ngo hati kakuwa turazirabya mutekaniza eno ya My Planet yo kumseja enda kusindikiriza zone zikorwe mu hije kimurkweta urujungu yake kweta Uingereza ndizikora kuko rukwende zo Uingereza tuzikora mu Uingereza zo rutoro tuzikora mu rutoro nabwo icyo kitabatinisa iwe akutorora kandi awatulirize leta business leta byokwetaga tukubalize turange nuko tunge abaguzi nuko tunga barabikozesa direct ushobora ibintu byo kubirabya mu tekanize ya My Planet notera namba yange simo ni gukora connection ni kuyunga ni kuteraniza na marketing department here na bakuru barakwataho we run your business through directly no sobora kwijanora our marketing executive you discuss the business aspect or any of our staff can easily connect you to the right people here to do business with. So otafera mabige leta business yawe rundi ibintu byawe kwetaga turange rundi tubaza rundi tukole naiwe and Fort TV akaija habwawe nchokorora ni wera very international obundi mbazo rutora zifu ngo aba America ni baruhura aba Ghana ni baruhura aba South Africa ni baruhura of course tu bakuruhura baitu morale ni pabilizwa kurubaza nukuyiwe hano obundi atende mugisa go Rungereza bundi ruingiho rukozesa timanyire otungo mugisa kuondere kinugamba kiki nuko yongera goza TV yawe Fort TV kandi kalo semerirwe nayo betabo kubangu literezesi yona ninyesanga bwesanga ngenzire mu kwesolo limi rundi orkuteraniza ensiyona nindukozesa muno habo kuba ensiyona kikoto kichoka kikoto kulengesaniza nekichweka ekya orunyoro rutoro abakurubaza kuruhura kuhondera nimba takusorora nawe nimba ntarkwehura ntarkwepanka nangwa ngo nimbazo Rungereza yo Uingereza niba kurubaza nikiwa kitali kiriangu chamani muno. It is part and parcel of my life. It's the language that I really run through and enjoy, and part and parcel of my communication lifeline. So I'm really not speaking to show off or to do what. No, I'm simply, effectively, globally communicating, so that this TV can benefit everyone globally. It can bring everybody on board through this show, My Planet, because it's a global village. That's what we are talking about tonight, or rather today. Esi eno eri kekyalo ky'owanyu ekyo kusobola kurubata musa ibiri satu kakimarayo ukamanya buli kayo omuntu nyakurumu, buli kasaro akarumu, buli kasozi akarumu, buli kavira akarumu kasumikano ensi nehikiraho nosemera kubogino oti kandi kimabite kusobozesa kubogino oti n'urulimi orwese rukwetegereza hakire abarikiro bwingi omunsi orwakwetegereza kandi urulimi n'ururungereza English. Hati olukwija hano nkarutamu rwingi tuli rwingi gamba ngo rugumangene ne rugumira baitu nkarukozesa muno nimba ndiyo ninkwata ensiona ningiteka mu 40 TV ninkwata 40 TV ningiteka mu ensiona. So meaning I'm globalizing 40 TV and also of course I'm localizing here, but also especially globalizing. Buli muntu wena agweza kukora ebintu kugalisha kukanyisa kuongerayo to expand, to increase, you know, that's the trend, the current global trend. So don't feel offended when I come in and speak a lot of this stuff. Now back to Russia-Ukraine war. What I read in my mind when I look at Vladimir Putin, that governor of Russia, can call him president, I see a lot of things in him. I see him remembering how huge Russia was. Today we are calling it a Russian Federation. There are some countries that are comprising Russia. But at some stage, Russia was a huge country with many countries comprising it. It was a union of a big number of states. That's why it was referred to as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. It is a socio-economic and political approach was social and communism. So it was a huge and a great country at the time, but its administration and politics was not popular with the people. It had a way of controlling the economy as a state. It had a huge state control over the economy, not allowing people to freely transact, to freely do business, to freely run economics, like capitalist countries are doing, like America is doing. America has more or less kind of a free economy, like Uganda does. But of course I know for us we can't do it very well because we have our internal challenges of administration and management of the economy of the country by majority of people who are not trustworthy. Corrupt elements who are in the positions of power, controlling the resources of the nation here, cannot allow the country to prosper. although Uganda has potential to prosper and develop, it cannot, because the people that are steering, some of them actually, not all, let me confess, but people with influence are selfish. That aside, now back to Russia. This man, Vladimir Putin, feels hurt up to this point in time for Russia having lost that glory of being USSR. And that was taking it to be more or less a superpower. The more countries you have within you, which you call states, the more stronger and bigger and powerful your economy, your military, your social aspect are. But Russia lost that opportunity, so it broke up. And one of the countries that broke off is Ukraine. And Ukraine was a huge part of the breakaway country with many resources. One of them, mineral resources. Ukraine has a lot of mineral resources. Fertile land, fertile soils, strong men and women, fighters as well. Huge oil reserves and energy deposits. Deposits, okay, yeah. So when Russia looks at Ukraine with all that wealth and thinking that it was part of Russia, USSR, and thinking that Russian Federation is still strong, can capture back that country, Vladimir Putin doesn't settle down. He wants to use all the force at his disposal to reunite Ukraine with Russia, to bring Ukraine back to Russia, to annex Ukraine, to grab it, control it, manage it. And that's why he used to sponsor the leaders of Ukraine when it broke away. He couldn't stop it from breaking away, but when it did, he wanted to sponsor the leaders who could be loyal to Kremlin. Kremlin is the headquarters of the administration of Russian Federation. Like you could say Washington, like you could say Kampala for Uganda, Nairobi for Kenya, whatever it is, that case. So Vladimir Putin is venturing into that to make Russia great again, in his sense. And that's why there are some countries around there he patronizes, like Belarus. Belarus is loyal, very cooperative with Russia. Not because it simply loves Russia, but you know, there is some element of fear from that huge dictator, Vladimir Putin. So the other countries there, Kazakhstan, they had trouble with Georgia also when it broke off or broke away from Russia. They fought it, almost destroyed it, but it persisted and remained independent. But there is Russian influence somehow within the politics of the country, even is reflected in the recent elections that we have had in Georgia. But back to Ukraine now. Russia invaded 2014, took Crimea, to own it as part of Russia. The pretext is that in Ukraine, like it was part of Russia, majority of the people speak Russian. Okay, they have Ukrainian language, but majority, especially in the east of the country, speak Russian. The east of the country is neighboring Ukrainian part of the east. Majority of those areas are neighboring Russia. So majority of the people there speak Russian. So he's like, wherever Russian is being spoken is part of Russia, even when it is another country neighboring Russia. So he uses that pretext to defend and protect the Russians in Ukraine. And to do it effectively, you must control that area. That's what he thinks. And that's why Donbass and other parts of the east of Ukraine are under Russian control now through invasion on the 24th of February 2022, yeah? That was a renewed invasion, actually full swing invasion, grand invasion, which he calls operation. Calls it a military operation or something like that. So, having grabbed Crimea, actually, when you read between lines, you find wants to have the whole of Ukraine back to Russia. And that's why he's fighting it and day or day and night to make sure he annexes, or capture Ukraine again, which he has found it difficult, but he's pushing, he's advancing, yes. But Ukraine has survived all this time. This is its third year of the military operation of Russia in Ukraine. But Ukraine has had support, military, economic, and otherwise, from other countries of the West. I'm talking about European countries, also I'm talking about America. America has injected a lot of money for military hardware, software, including training of the military, you know, warplanes, other military equipment, technical advice. Germany has done the same. UK has done the same. France has done the same. Though not in equal measure. Denmark is also helping, and other countries there. Also, Ukraine is a resilient country, has a resilient population, meaning strong population, strong people. They have really fought tooth and nail to survive. They are fewer in terms of numbers militarily compared to Russia. Even the general population size, Ukraine is small compared to Russia. But among the other countries that broke off from Russia, Ukraine is, I think, is the biggest, yeah? But now, if you look at what has happened, Russia has grabbed almost 20% of the Ukrainian land. 20%. Check. From global statistics, 20% is under Russian control. It is pushing further and faster and harder to, where possible, swallow the whole of it, the whole of Ukraine. Now, America, having been spending a lot of money in that direction, Trump is like, he doesn't want to kind of squander or spend those resources again into Ukraine. And that's why he's talking about ending the war. Now that he's back in power, the war should end. How does it end? Putin is not about to stop wanting to grab and hijack and take Ukraine. And he's big-headed, he's stubborn. You know? He's a dictator? Yes. That man, Vladimir Putin. And, you know, they have been in a Cold War between Russia and USA. So they have been fighting diplomatically, kind of Cold War, quarreling, pushing one statements. Rhetoric, yes. So USA cannot directly attack Russia, and Russia cannot do the same to America, because they are all powerful. But America could do it, but the reason it cannot is that Russia is also a nuclear country. Nuclear is a devastating war field, war equipment, war weapon. So for that reason hati murto tugamba boba no hambye omusajja mugezi waawo sigamwagala kugaara. So America tesobola kwimuka kagamba hati Russia nakola magira kuteera directly kurwanisa hakubeera nabyo kurwanisa ebyamaani nk'ebya America ebiyinde yine n'abasirikale bengi n'abantu bengi n'ebikozesa ebindi bingi n'obuhungu stubbornness, you know, ebwine bwingi, especially that man kiramuno Vladimir Putin na group ye nejuka n'abantu abayakozesaga mu Ukraine manya Grozovin manya biki abantu bamulingo Kongo. So hati akahandika aba North Korea nibamukonyera mukurwana mu Ukraine ha front line no mukicuke kya Ukraine yatahire mu cya Russia Kursk. Yes. So actually about North Korea they were fighting sama, but they are also fighting, but they are dying because Ukraine knows how to work on them. Ukraine is war-hardened, battle-hardened. It's fighting for survival. So it's using all the means available and creating different means to fight and survive. So because Russia was losing its military personnel so much, manpower loss, so it decided to import, to get mercenaries. We call them mercenaries. These people you import to help you in working on your cause. They're called mercenaries, not machineries. Machineries are to do with the machines, but mercenaries are these other fellows that you bring in to help you with that, in that direction, who don't belong to that country, but you think they are going to help you in that direction. So Trump is like, a lot of money is going to Ukraine, a lot of weapons, a lot of support. So the war is draining USA. And if America is to be great again, to retain its resources, its huge wealth, it must not spend again in that direction. And in order for it not to spend again, to keep its global supremacy, the war must end. But it ends on whose terms? Russia is like, to end the war, Ukraine must accept, concede, having lost those parts, the 20% chunk of land Russia is occupying, including Crimea. And also condition number 2, Ukraine must not join NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That military agency where America and majority of the Western world, Western countries are members. Ukraine wanted to join, is requesting, actually it applied for joining NATO, and since it is neighboring Russia, Russia thinks that if Ukraine joins, he will be having NATO in at his doorsteps. He will be secure as Russia, and so he looks at NATO as an enemy, that a force that can invade him anytime. That is Vladimir Putin thinking. So, and Ukraine could harbor, could keep them, could give them platform, could give them space to operate from, to quickly cross over to Russia. So Russia is like, Ukraine cannot be a member of NATO. And you know, it beats logic. How do you dictate who I should belong and who I shouldn't when I'm an independent country? Russia is like, Ukraine is not independent. And Ukraine is like, I'm independent. More than 10 years of independence. I didn't want to be specific in terms of that. So now already, we used to think that Trump and Putin were friends. Actually, they are friends generally. And even in the first government of Trump, seems Russia had a hand of supporting for Trump to win against Clinton. Clinton was very popular and had a popular vote, but like they have electoral colleges, some states Clinton was beaten by Trump, and we think Russia had a hand in it. There's some information around that or about that. But that aside, Trump respects Putin to some extent, but of late is issuing some statements to warn Russia against continuing with the war in Ukraine. Is asking Putin to stop the war. Trump is asking Putin to stop the war. But Putin is like, I have to stop the war on my own conditions. The stopping should be favoring Russia. Ukraine to lose, to cede, to leave those parts that Russia is occupying, to become fully-fledged parts of Russia. So that expansionism of Russia, but also not joining NATO, to give space, bringing the enemy closer to us as Russia. And Ukraine cannot accept those conditions. But because it is being pushed hard, I'm afraid Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, may have to perhaps think about losing part of Ukraine, areas occupied by Russia now, because he wants peace, because Ukrainians are dying day and day through bombardment from Russia, and Russia has superiority air power and war machinery, and has big supporters like China, like Iran, like North Korea. Those three are very powerful countries. Supporting Russia to go ahead with the war, because they think that Ukraine is likely to be a puppet of USA and the West in general. So in order to deny that opportunity for Ukraine to incline or lead to the West and USA, is to grab it, to take it away, to occupy it. That expansionism is an agenda for Russia. Let's have one bit of last break before we conclude this discussion. Just a single element of break. We come back and conclude in the next few minutes to come.
bagenzi harohe ikicweka ikinkumanya kikahunga ruhanga ubwo yemera hansozi olengeresi amare.
Fort TV, stay entertained. Fort TV, stay entertained. Fort TV, stay entertained. Fort TV, stay entertained. Fort TV. Stay entertained.
Bagira olufumu olw'abayisenku lwitwe oluli very meaningful olwina amakulu ag'amaanyi okugamba ngu amata gatahatwa lwagatahasireho atakagatahatahog tagatahata obwagatahata amata agagata kandi amata obu olikumara gata tosobola kwongera okagayoramu. Bagira olufumu olw'abayisenku lwitwe oluli very meaningful olwina amakulu ag'amaanyi okugamba ngu amata gatahatwa lwagatahasireho atakagatahatahog tagatahata obwagatahata amata agagata kandi amata obu olikumara gata tosobola kwongera okagayoramu.
Fort TV. Stay entertained.
Fort TV, stay entertained. Welcome back from that meaningful break. And we are in the last bit of our discussion this morning. We are looking at USA versus other countries, especially in relation to Russia-Ukraine war. And eventually, as I will be concluding, I will reflect on the relationship between USA and this country or other developing countries like Uganda. So I'm about to conclude on Russia-Ukraine war. It is a long story. We could need a lot of weeks and months to discuss this analytically. But generally, Trump is finding it difficult to give conditions to Russia to stop the war in Ukraine. And Russia is like it can stop the war on its own, in its own interests. And Ukraine, being an independent country, a sovereign country, is like it cannot really yield to the pressure from Russia to forego the parts that Russia is occupying. But like I was saying, the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is like, if he does not surrender some part of Ukraine, people or Ukrainians will keep dying because of the firepower from Russia. And you know, like Trump is unpredictable, he may decide not to support Ukraine again, pull out resources, not give more resources to Ukraine. But of course, the other consolation is other European countries are supporting Ukraine, but not as much in terms of financial material and other resources like America has been doing it. I hope if America is to retain its global stature of being the superpower, I hope and believe, and I'm convinced that it should keep supporting Ukraine to win the war. It should keep doing that. My fear is that Trump is like I said, is unpredictable. He could say, no more money, no more war material, no more support for Ukraine, and that would mean Ukraine starves from the military support point of view, even when the other European countries support it. It gets problems. So it empowers Russia now to advance the more and grab more land. So I am like, I wish Trump becomes stronger against Russia, against Vladimir Putin, also works as hard as possible to help end the war in Ukraine. On Ukrainian terms also and conditions. You invaded me. Why do you want to occupy my land? I want to be a member of NATO. Why do you stop me? That's what Russia doesn't want. Russia wants to grab the land, stop Ukraine from joining NATO or NATO. So we are waiting to see really what eventually America does, what Trump does in particular. Has already warned Russia to stop the war in Ukraine. Russia is looking at him, watching him cautiously, how he's going to force them to stop. But he has threatened to slap more economic and other sanctions on Russia. All the business is doing with USA will be sanctioned, and even other businesses Russia is doing with other countries will get some slap from Trump administration. Those are his words, but they are not actions yet. We are waiting for action. But my prayer as a person, as a person feeling for Ukraine, really, like you could find a strong man invading a neighbor who is not as strong as him and grabbing his land, grabbing his everything, killing his people. You can't celebrate if you have a human heart. You can't celebrate. You rather feel bad about it. So I'm like, how I wish Russia pulls out of Ukraine. How I wish there's a global pressure for Russia to pull out. But the world is cautious because Russia is a nuclear country, a nuclear state. But I want to predict that by the end of this year, there is a likelihood that war will stop. I don't know which month, I don't know under which conditions, but Russia will stop fighting in Ukraine, at least temporarily. And I'm not seeing all the two conditions fulfilled. That the parts it has taken from Ukraine, it owns them as Russia, and Ukraine is not allowed to join NATO. I don't see that one happening. So the war there might be some ceasefire, but ending the war 100% effectively is not easy, is not soon as we may imagine. But the war will have to cease at some point. And I'm looking at Ukraine also surviving, but it could cede, it could lose some part of it. Finally, now let me reflect the Trump administration to developing countries, including Uganda. We are already happy, some of us, that that business of harassing us in terms of homosexuality, if nothing changes otherwise, we are happy. Trump is not interested in homosexuality, so conditions to do with that will not be advanced again against us. But also, like, he does not like these countries which go begging in America, and Uganda is a country that overdepends on donations and loans from that country. If he suspends that support, Uganda is going to have trouble. No more investments, no more social amenities support. Education sector, health sector, road infrastructure, we shall have a huge gap there. But that will not worry me much, because even when this money is coming, these fellows in this country grab it, consume it, invest just a small portion of the same in the infrastructure of the country. to support its population. So sente Amerika n'ubugamba ati ezikiro gwingi nazemereza kujya mu Uganda handi nisogaba emereza abo kuba nozo kujya zikiro gwingi nibaziyo hati itwe dora haro hibanja likotomun hai hati erikutinisiriza no kukira embalira sente zone zokwetagisibwa kole mirimo yihanga. The whole national budget ibanje litwine threatening to be over and above that. So hati itwe hawakusasure tali nka abantu ba Uganda sente nibazihayo zijje zikole emirimo nibatonyamuka entonyezi y'amaizi mu nyanja ekicweke koto hakakwesegamba kintu kuraga hero nibakyezibika nibazini bazita masawu gabo. So but of course nakataita kakabaye kagenda mu mirimo ka byenyegesa marwaro n'engudo n'ahandi ntuba twakaferwa kandi hati tukaferwa ntongera kuba kubi ebigude bikucheka tebara kubisemeza marwaro garukusiskara tugarukusemezibwa n'amasomero nuko. So nintina Trump asobora kuleta mu bulemezi bokubohenati eyo mlyango kutuletera sente kuruga mu Amerika. Hati abasuma mu ihanga muno nibatandika kwiba akasente kona karaba kasigairemo habo kuba bayino buguda bwabo beti manyira bwake abaguda basuma muno. I really don't know tingambire bona nkwata kuri tingambire bona abaguda kiro wingi basuma tebara kwiba abatunge bito already baguda ebe mahali ebi batungire koraba mu busuma ebindi bene ko kwabikolelire cyoga hati abamuli beyongera kwiba kongereza abaguda bwabo kandi kiro komoni muno hano mu ihanga musaso kiteze package rundi buli tobeire hano rundi buli tomanyira kusoma tosoma munsi muno oli abukubo kubera obusoma papura za makuru no birora television no birora everywhere no hura kandi wera boli mu Uganda ohire kumanya buli ngoko kudagamba nibikukwata no kukwataho. There is economic push and pressure and squeeze on the citizenry. Emisore ebatukamura ebyosubuze kiro wingi hati bigeze nibikinga mu ihanga muno abasubuze balukubi abakiro wingi emisore fokere emisoro kandi kitongole emisore kigamba tomukabayire hati mbeni pura kakuba utunga akalimu katugambe cyokororaho ndeje natunga omulimo hano mu Fort TV twakole kandi ko tukweta contract eyo kumpa omulimo ngo hati contract eto asayininge genda tera ho mukono hegi ndigisasura umusoro ha contract mu government obu ijukali ne misole endi rikuja kwa ni huasete zibaratarika kusasura haliyo withholding tax haliyo pay as you earn haliyo misoro nyingi nyakoro hao betati contract yoka gitawo mukono ngo bakomulimu hati sasura government kandi ubu government teniye gukwahiro mulimo betunga habo kuba nibasera misoro nibasera sente zo kombeka economy so the tax your job contract. That is the far we have gone. Buliki chode tukugura mkatali maduka anka kiro home so. This is direct tax is everywhere and squeezing us hard. So hati kakuba sente zo kuruga mu America zike haruni zikaleka kuija. Sente ke zanya kurumwezo. Nibiyongera kuziri. Hati tuyongera kuba kubi. Nibongera kutumiga, kutukamura, kutuihamu umusoro. Ntuongera kuba kubi. So the economy collapses. The economy collapses. Kuba majority of our leaders are not patriotic. Tebete nibatugamba ngozi hangali yawe baitubu obokusera ko kuba kuligoza no kusera nukubura. Haroho ekyo bugabe bw'abantu. Human rights. Mu Uganda hado mukasumika ka government yo Mnyoro Museveni to a large extent enyuma okutwali ntusemererwa hagati okekaba there was a semblance of respect for human rights. Betatu wakuja norora ebrigenda ni waka sumikano norora hareki kaguzo nangwa haroho nabagambirwe kutagaruka mu Amerika mukasume ka government ya Biden naho habo kurubatira ubugabe bw'abantu kuno mu Uganda hata utimanyire Trump nawe kakubaka mwijamo akagamba ngo human rights nisemera kulindwa kurungi abakuzirubatira batagaruka mu Amerika rundi mbataye mihingo rundi ndimba 40 hati hecho ndikisokuletereza abakujaguza hati abateruye mihingo kutagaruka mu Amerika abo kurubatira ubwabo abantu kwehura kubi kukihura mali kabahika habo ko abandi bajaguza bagamba Trump kukuyeja hati koku warkuzoka we enkoraye nesaneriende hati mihingo reja kugituihaho mubamanyira abantu abatangirwa kugaruka mu Amerika no gukora imirimo mubamanyire tubagamba mu makuru mu bitongole bine bya makuru for TV mu radio nanka so betati ni malira ningamba ngo ite kabe kazi bense reka tuyongere kutekereza muno no kwecumitiriza critically and creatively think how to survive. Majority of the population we are really going to be working for surviving, not even for decent living, but for surviving. Just a few who have amassed some resources, some riches, and adding on through many ways can live to enjoy. But kakuba majority of the population ebetasemerirwe etarkwegoza ndewe no yegoza no tina mwenye mukabuku hasobora kubayo ekyahulika hasobora kubayo ekyabaho. Abantu they become unruly, they become criminals, they become ungovernable sometimes. Iyo manyine embwa yawe kakuba nogirubato mukiro ukamusasa muno nesobora kuhindukira kakuruma. I'm not a prophet of doom. Ihanga lyoda kakubalire mu 10 up to some extent. Abantu bensengi babihirwa behayo nago mu buto kwerwanaho kuomera. Kwerwanaho kuomera. Kwicha weekend kwicha mukamali mukonyezi wetu ndagaruka mutekanize enu Thursday and Friday. For now I'm sending out. I wish you the best of this Friday and the best of the weekend and the best of the year. Stay safe.
Fort TV, stay entertained.